All right, time for our weekly roundup of the world's top stories from science and tech with CTV science and technology expert Dan Riskin. Happy Monday to you, Dan. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So let's start with this headline that suggests we're only 7 years away from artificial intelligence singularity. But how close are we really?
Yeah, so the singularity is this idea that artificial intelligence is going to get so smart that it sort of just laps past us and we just sort of become on the sideline of what's happening with science and technology. Computers basically take over. People have been warning about this singularity event coming, and with artificial intelligence making all the advances it has in the last year or so, people are starting to ask, when's that coming? And a new press release has come out from a company that uses artificial intelligence, and they say it's within 7 years. And the reason they think that their technology is they work on translation. So if you have a website, you need to translate it into a bunch of languages. They're a company you would use for that. And when they do it, they use artificial intelligence to translate the text, and then they have a human fix the mistakes. And the amount of time the humans are taking to fix the mistakes has been going down, down, down. And they estimate that within 7 years, you won't need humans. It'll be completely artificial intelligence. They're saying that is a mark that we've reached the singularity. So we'll see whether they're right or not. Some people think we've already reached the singularity. Some people say we'll know when we hit it. But it's something to start talking about because, you know, what do we all do when artificial intelligence is the one inventing more artificial intelligence?
Yeah, we've already touched on ChatGPT and, you know, programs like GPT-0 to target that. So it's here. Okay. And this is exciting in terms of healthcare news, Dan. Early detection of cancer is critical. And now there's an actual insect that is being trained to do just that.
This is crazy. So the thing about cancer is the earlier you detect it in general, the better off you are. But a lot of cancers are very deep inside the body and they're hard to detect unless you have a scanner. But the idea, don't worry, you're not going to get ants in your body. That's not what's happening here. The idea is that they took mice that have cancer or don't have cancer and they trained ants to recognize the difference in smell and trained them to go towards the smell of a mouse that has cancer. And the ants learned it because there's apparently a lot of different smells that come from a cancer that we don't notice, but an ant certainly can pick up because they have a very good sense of smell. And so they've trained these ants to do it. And it worked in these small experiments with mouse urine. But the thought is that maybe down the road, ants could be used as a way of very inexpensively testing large amounts of different samples.
That's wild. So now you really have that expression. Maybe you do want ants in your pants.
Right. Yeah.
Easier than a CAT scan.
Around the toilet or something. Wow. That is unbelievable. Like that's quite frankly mind-blowing, Dan. But this next story may also be mind-blowing as well because the T-1000 from Terminator 2, it's real now?
Yes. Almost. So researchers, so you remember that scene where the T-1000 melds through some jail bars and comes out the other side? No problem. Oh, you even have it lined up. Perfect. Okay, so very scary scene. My whole childhood is defined by this one scene where like I just stressed about, I love it. So they basically did this. They made a little Lego guy out of a metal called gallium, and they put a bunch of metal in there that was subject to magnetic fields. And what they could do is they could pull that gallium towards the bars, and then by changing the magnetic field really quickly, they cause the gallium to melt, so it goes through the bars, and then on the other side, it has to reform. Now, this is where things get a little bit, almost. It falls into a mold on the floor that is shaped like a Lego man, so that it then cools and gets into the right shape, and then they have to use the magnets to pop it back up into place. But, you know, in general, the basic idea is there. Now, researchers are saying this is an important technology because it could be used in healthcare. They tried so hard to say that this was actually applicable to anything. There's no chance. It's just that they love the T-1000 and they wanted to try to do this. And I take my hat off to them for it.
Yeah, for healthcare. Right?
Exactly, right. Okay, Dan, that's fascinating stuff. As always, we know you're gone for a couple of weeks. We'll look forward to your return and safe travels. Take care, Dan. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Excellent. So, well done to old Corbet.
Downton Abbey's Kevin Doyle, who plays the famous Mr. Mosley, now plays a Scottish meteorologist group captain in Pressure.
What could go on for another 5 years? What we decide will determine whether the invasion goes ahead or not.
I suspect you know more about Monday's weather than Colonel Crick ever will. Help Ike make the right decision.
For as little as 24 hours. I think I am.
David Haig's World War II drama is based on a true story, and performances began on January 24th and will run through March 5th at the Royal Alexandra Theatre here in Toronto. So for more on this critically acclaimed smash hit direct from London's West End, we're joined in the studio with Kevin Doyle. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in. I know that this is your third time in Toronto now, but now you'll be staying for a while for this production. So it's been a week of shows. You've been playing Tuesday through Sunday. What has the reaction been like to the North American premiere of Pressure?
Very enthusiastic. It's been lovely. I don't do theatre very often, so it's always nice to get in front of an audience again. And, it's quietly terrifying. It's a mad thing to do when you think about it, sort of pretending to be somebody else in front of 900 people. But it's lovely. It's really lovely. And the Toronto audiences have just been fantastic.
Oh, that's so good to hear that you're receiving that warm Toronto love despite the cold temperatures outside.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you played one of two meteorologists advising General Eisenhower on when the Allied forces should be invading, continental Europe from Britain. What date will have the best weather will ultimately decide the fate of millions. So tell us about your character in this play, James Stagg.
He's a meteorologist, and he's been brought in by General Eisenhower to give them the best forecast available. And unfortunately, the news that he wants to pass on to them is not the news that they want to hear. There are 350,000 men waiting to cross the Channel and to liberate Europe, and there are 7,000 naval vessels, collected around the British Isles, and they're all meant to sort of come together and then sail across. But for that, they need good weather. And unfortunately, Dr. Stagg has some bad news for General Eisenhower.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most important weather forecast in history, I would suggest, in as much as so much was riding on it. And so a big argument ensues about, what they're going to do about it.
Yeah, and you give such a convincing performance. It was really nice to see you shine in this role. So different than Mr. Mosley in Downton Abbey, because Mr. Mosley, he's a little more reserved, a little more shy. He's got great comedic timing, but he doesn't, as a valet, as a butler, he's not supposed to speak his mind. But in this role, you are the group commander, and you have to say things, but you're also hiding a lot of anxiety, aren't you?
Yes, he's got stuff going on in his personal life as well, which appears sort of halfway through the play. And so, as with everybody, there's a lot of stuff going on in their lives which they try to sort of keep quiet about, but inevitably it sort of bubbles up at some point in moments of pressure.
Yeah, and there is a lot of pressure. There's also a lot of swearing, a little bit. There's moments of anger and shouting.
I'm sure the Toronto audience can cope with that.
Yes, exactly. And Kevin, before we let you go, I just want to ask you, you've been in Toronto for only 7 days now, but what is the one thing you love to do in this city so
far? Walk around. It's just a wonderful place to walk around, So sort of visiting all the different markets and the neighbourhoods. It's a lovely place to walk around, despite the cold weather.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad to hear that.
And I'm quite looking forward to Friday to sort of experiencing that cold, because we just don't get that kind of cold temperatures back in home.
Okay, well, bundle up, and we look forward to seeing more of you in Pressure, playing at the Royal Alexandra Theatre until March the 5th. Kevin Doyle, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Stargazers getting a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity this week to watch a green comet shoot past Earth. Experts say it first flew past our planet 50,000 years ago. No one remembers it. The comet will shoot past the Earth at a distance of 42 million kilometers. It'll be most visible tonight, but you may be able to catch a glimpse of it every day this week. That is, if the sky is clear. We'll talk about the skies with Bill, but in the meantime, York University astronomy professor Paul Delaney joins us live from Tucson, Arizona. Professor Delaney, good for you to join us this morning from Arizona. I know you're a couple hours behind us, but how big of a deal is this green comet of a celestial event?
Well, the green is certainly getting a great deal of airplay. As you can see, I'm trying to give that color here. However, when you look at it with the binoculars, which is the best way for most people to be able to see it, you're not going to see the green. I'm going to use a very technical term. It's a fuzzball. It's a grayish fuzzball in the sky. And unfortunately, in light polluted skies like any of our big cities, you're going to be very hard pressed to see much more than that fuzzball. Anytime a comet comes through, though, I really urge people to go out and have a look at it because it's a piece of our past, a very distant piece of our past. 4.5 billion years in the making. This comet is wandering through the inner solar system, as you said, for the first time in like 50,000 years. You can see celestial motion in action as it moves with respect to the background stars. It will change its appearance subtly from night to night. And as I said, if you've got a good pair of binoculars, you'll be able to see those changes and see that motion.
It's so cool. I love that. I remember watching Halley's Comet as a kid as it passed by, so many years ago. That was so fascinating. Can we actually learn something from this still? Like, is there anything that this comet, this green comet, is telling us or providing to us in terms of learning whether about space or the atmosphere, etc.?
Every comet and every meteorite that you might pick up, anything that comes by the Earth is a time capsule. So there is information embedded inside this particular comet that we were unaware of. It's a piece of our past. As I said, what the solar system was made from is embedded inside this comet, and every comet has a slightly different story to tell. So yes, there is lots of information. Yeah, with binoculars, you're not going to see it, but obviously when we start analyzing the contents of this comet with our spectrographs, with our telescopes, we are putting another piece of our formation into perspective. So yeah, we're very excited every time we see these comets come through our skies.
Okay, and Professor, you've mentioned, using binoculars. I'm sure telescopes would help as well. Could you see this if you just sort of glance up to the sky on a clear night over the next couple of nights, or do you really need some sort of enhancement in order to enable you to catch at least something?
Strongly recommend binoculars. If you're in a dark site, so if you're away from the city limits, it is naked eye visible. You'll have to know where to look. It's in the northern sky, above Polaris, that's the North Star. So Canada is very, very well placed. As I said, it's about 20 degrees, 25 degrees above the North Star. If you're in a dark site, you will see this little fuzzy speck in the sky, and from night to night, you will see that fuzzball move. But if you're in the city, you absolutely need binoculars to be able to pull it out of the background murk of our light-polluted skies, unfortunately.
Right.
But binoculars is all you need.
Yeah, oh, that's good to hear. I mean, most people have a pair of binoculars sort of kicking around their house somewhere. Is there a good time or a better time that you're more likely to catch a glimpse of it and you don't want to stand there getting a sore neck for several hours?
Fortunately, it's the moment twilight ends, so after the sun goes down and twilight ends tonight or any night this week, that will be just fine. It's up almost all night. It's just about what we call circumpolar here in most parts of Canada. But as the days progress, it is going to get higher and higher, and it will begin to set just prior to sunrise. So if you can do it tonight or tomorrow night, Friday night, the sooner you can see it, the brighter it will be. It is as close to the Earth today as it is ever going to be, which means, of course, that it will be at its brightest tonight. So tonight, Thursday night, Friday night, those are your best nights. But with binoculars, again, you'll be able to see it deep into next week as it passes by Capella. And then on February 10th, it's going to be right beside Mars. So it's actually putting on a bit of a grand tour across the sky.
No kidding. Well, this once in 50,000-a-year trip, they may as well make it worthwhile, I suppose. York University astronomy professor Paul Delaney, listen, we always appreciate the time. Thanks for helping us understand a little more about what's going on in the skies above us. Enjoy your time in Arizona. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Thanks very much, Nick. Have a good one. Clear skies.
Well, yesterday was anything but ordinary for students at Seneca College as Ryan Reynolds made an appearance and even helped out one journalism student with her newscast assignment.
This sounds incredible. What a great day. Seneca student Naomi Prue joins us now. Naomi, we have to ask you, tell us about your day. What happened?
It was amazing, guys. I don't even know where to start. It was out of the ordinary, so unexpected. The last person I was expecting to see that day, and while I was writing my script about Dr. Phil, Ryan Reynolds was the last person I was expecting to be reading it in front of the teleprompter with me. It was insane.
So when he walked into the classroom, Naomi, what was the reaction, and then what was your interaction like with him? Because it seems like you had sort of the most time with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, so my initial reaction was I was just frozen and like, is everyone else seeing what I'm seeing? Is everyone here with me? Is Ryan really here with us? Once he came up beside me and he just started reading the teleprompter, I was just amazed. I had no words, honestly. I was starstruck, as you can see. There's no other way to put it. And he told me to come back in the shot with him and start reading with him. And when we did, everyone started cheering us on, and it was just a really great moment.
That's so sweet. What was he like?
Oh, so sweet in person. Like, the second I saw him, I was like, wow, you are a copy and paste from your movies into real life. Sometimes you think celebrities might be different in person, but it was starstruck.
How nervous were you standing next to him doing that? Because you look fairly confident in the video we're watching there, but could you feel your legs? Like, was your mind as present as you appear?
I was shaking. Even rewatching the video, I was like, wow, was I just staring and standing for that long? It didn't feel like it. And watching the clip of us read the teleprompter together in real life, that just felt so much quicker than it actually did happen, if that makes sense. Time was just moving so fast. I didn't know how to gather myself.
I love how he just interrupted while you were doing your newscast and then asked you to join in too. Well, why was he there? Why was he at Seneca College and he was in your journalism department?
That's what we still don't know. That's why we were still so shocked. We were told that there was going to be a special guest. We were expecting anyone that was in the journalism industry. And at around like 10:20, Ryan Reynolds popped into our classroom and we're like, this is the special guest, like an A-list celeb? It was, so I have no idea why he was there. I don't know his connection to Seneca, but I'm hoping to find that out today when I go to school.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Naomi. I'm also curious as to what the sort of overall reaction was. I mean, we saw kind of what happened in the classroom there, but after he left, I mean, was he mobbed? Were there people just grabbing their, smartphones and trying to grab his picture and take selfies? I mean, what was that scene like as well?
Yeah, so he had a group of people around him. He was well surrounded, so nobody could really jump on him or anything. Nobody knew that he was going to be here. Nobody knew that there was going to be a special guest. So once the word started getting around and people saw that he was in our classroom, for the next hour, since our classroom was just windows, people were walking by, trying to look in, record, but nobody knew where he was. I'm not sure how long he spent at the school, but I know it was just supposed to be a 30-minute tour. So not a lot of students got to see him. One student came running with their Deadpool pins on their backpack and was like, where is he? And I'm like, he already left.
Wow. Imagine that. Well, what an experience you had. You got quite a story to tell, and thanks for sharing that story with us this morning. That is Seneca journalism student Naomi Pruitt joining us this morning to talk about her brush with Ryan Reynolds. How exciting is that?
Yes, thanks for sharing it. Stem cells continue to help treat many diseases, especially those that are blood-based, but there's a significant shortage of donors that are Black. And one survivor of acute, you have to help me pronounce this myeloid leukemia, or AML, has made it a mission to rally Black Canadians to become stem cell donors. Dorothy Vernon Brown, founder of the Donor Drive for Dorothy, joins us now. And I was asking you, how many years in remission have you been? And you said,
I am considered cured.
That is absolutely incredible. I wish every story was like this. How many years have you been cured?
So I just got the news, but I have been really well since the stem cell transplant in 2015. So 8 years of my journey has been pretty good. No issues, no setback. My counts are normal, so really good.
That's incredible. But there is a big shortage of people that are from the Black community. I mean, 2% of all stem cell donors are Black. That's a staggering number.
Can
you tell us about this?
It is. There's a huge disparity in the Canadian National Registry. When you look at the donor pool for Blacks and other minorities, as a matter of fact, there is a severe underrepresentation. So right now there's just under 2, as you've said, 1.55 to be exact, as opposed to 66.45 for Caucasians. And that's why it's our mission to get more Black Canadians in the registry. And tomorrow we launch a very ambitious campaign, swabbing 5,000 Black Canadians, get them in the registry. We launch tomorrow here in Toronto, in downtown Toronto, at First Baptist Church, 101 Huron Street. And we want anybody that's listening right now, because it's so desperate for Black patients, that if they're listening, if they're 17 to 35, or if they're moms or you know, grandparents of any of that age group, please come down and get swabbed, because we have to close the gap. We have to increase that pool, because more donors will help to save more lives.
Your life was saved?
Absolutely. My life was saved because of a donor. I was very fortunate that my sister was my matching donor. Although she wasn't the perfect match at the time, they had overlooked her because she wasn't perfect. And that's when this awareness came to me. I had to now, my healthcare team had to look in the National Registry. And when I realized that there was only 1% in 2014, I knew instinctively I would die if I didn't get a donor. And so that's when that the idea of, if it didn't help me, if I was not even going to be saved, I wanted at least one more patient to be saved. Right now, there are 13 Black patients waiting on a stem cell. And it takes thousands of donors to really find that perfect match, because you're really looking for your twin.
Dorothy, can you tell us one more time about the event and where it is and when people can go? It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. It's going to be, it's our ambitious 5,000 registrants. We're trying to get into the registry. It's going to be at First Baptist Church here in downtown Toronto, 101 Huron Street. And we want anyone who is hearing us now, just come out. It takes 12 minutes, 30 seconds for a swab, and 12 minutes to fill out the health questionnaire. That's it.
So you have from noon until 3 p.m. tomorrow to do it. Dorothy Vernon Brown, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you and your incredible story. Thank you.